there.
Hello, gorgeous. Oh my God. So many of my favorite people are here tonight in the audience. This is going to be a cracker of a call. Okay. And I love the second calls when we have the guests on for the second time because I can break all the rules and ask the really juicy questions. Okay, everyone. I don't want to scare her away before the call starts. I have got you guys a repeat guest, one of yours and my favorites, Emily Pike Stewart. Um, Emily is seriously a force of nature. We all know her, but if you would like to know about Emily's background and the fascinating rise of her career and how she became so talented and all about her Grammy and everything, then you can see the first call. This call, I have an agenda. I have lots of questions um, stemming from the fact that Emily created this magical Wizard of Oz of ideas called the Nomad Narrator. And I have to tell you, with all the kerfuffle in America at the moment with the elections and the way the world could go one way or the other and anxiety and everything, I would avoid social media completely if it weren't for Emily's posts. And I see that that little van with the Partridge Family colors and her adventurous take on the things that she's doing, and it's it brings joy to my wicked little heart, I've got to say. So so I want to excavate a little bit of that joy. I want I have questions about your travels. I have questions about the experience, Emily. I I want to know what it feels like. I want to know, let's start with let's introduce the audience first because when you first came on the call, Nomad Narrator was very, very new. And
It was
you've
launching
now
that day.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was an idea, it was a spark, and you've now had a year of living with it. So for the sake of the audience, can we recap where the idea came from and how long ago and what it took? Bring us up to date to the day of the launch.
Yeah.
Just a brief kind of recap.
So when the pandemic hit, my husband and I went and stayed with our friends in Arkansas, and they have an Airstream on a lake, and the Airstream is outside of their house. So for that week that
What's
we stayed with
what's
them,
an Airstream? What's
oh,
an
like a
Airstream?
trailer,
Oh, okay, okay.
like an Airstream trailer, the ones that look like big silver Twinkies.
Oh, okay, got it,
Yeah.
got it, got it.
It's a specific brand. But so they have an Airstream and they had it out by the lake. And that whole week I was directing someone and Chris was also working. He's an attorney and he would, normally for an attorney, remote work was not even an option until the pandemic happened. So, but he was, I think, giving a deposition one day and he was doing some stuff in court throughout the week. And all of it was on Zoom. So he was working inside and I was out in the Airstream working the whole week. And as we were driving back home from this, we were talking about it, and I said, "Man, wouldn't it be amazing if we had some kind of a camper van or something that we could just go and travel and do this all the time wherever?" And he was like, "Yeah, that'd be really great." And I said, "Well," because I was narrating more at the time, and I said, "But I couldn't really do that with narration because you can't just record an audiobook on the road. It's, too difficult." And he kind of said, like, "Are you sure?" And it was funny because up until then, I think a lot of times he was really the more pragmatic of the two of us and wasn't necessarily the one that would be saying if I didn't think something was possible, wasn't necessarily the one that would be pushing it and being like, "Are you sure it's not possible? Are you sure you don't want to go for it?" But so it was really neat that like in that moment he was the one that was like, "Well, are you sure about that?" And it got me thinking. And I thought, well, there are microphones these days that do a much better job of canceling out background noise, depending on what type of mic you get. And I'm sure that there's got to be some kind of way to try to make the inside of a van more soundproof. And so I started looking into things, and sure enough, I came up with some ideas. Robin Lai at John Marshall Media talked about a few different options with me, and Sal at Macmillan. And they both had kind of the same recommendations of stuff. So I was like, I think I'm onto something here. So I ended up, purchasing the equipment. I found a van within about 6 weeks of that decision. The
Okay,
story of
wait.
the van is like one of my favorite things about the beginning of this project. And I maybe
Wait, let me stop you before you get to the van, because
yeah,
I want to just go back 2 steps real quick. Don't forget the van. I want to pick
okay.
right up on it. First, I want to comment what you said about Chris.
Who's
That
on the call right now? He's on this
Yeah,
one.
I think and I've got to say this to Chris. I'm sure he'll agree. That to me is one of the best things of being in any relationship. When when a relationship is working, when it's like a good relationship, when you get to that point where even if you're not the kind of person that says, "Oh, go ahead and do this, go ahead," when you're so kind of in sync with the person you live with, that even when we don't recognize our own needs, the other person does. Like, for him to know that that was important for you to pursue, immediately to know it, and his first thought to be to say it, is that, I think, is the secret ingredient to any relationship.
Oh, that's
The
really
the
fantastic.
instinctual reaction is what you need,
Yeah.
and not in a cloying, weird, you can do it, babe way, but in a genuine, why not?
Yeah.
Why can't you just be, and that's when you know someone's got your back. That struck me. I think credit needed, I think a little bit of importance needed to be put on that moment, because that's a really special thing to find. I would hope for everyone, they find somebody like that in their life, that is a sound that knows what they want as well, and kind of goes, yeah, why not?
Well, and
I
you know
love
what I
that.
think is really funny about that is that, like a lot of couples during the pandemic, we had a bit of a rough patch during that time. And I don't think that Chris or I would necessarily say that like at that moment we were in great sync with each other. But I think that looking back and understanding sort of the path that we've traveled together, I think that both of us can say that there have been really important points throughout our relationship where we might not feel like we're in sync, we might not feel like things are going well, but there's never really a doubt that we're supposed to be walking that path
Yeah,
together.
I've got that. I've got Right then he said, I've got this person. I
Mm.
recognize, I see you, I've got you. And I think people in relationships think that a good relationship is saying and doing the right things and showing the right kind of love. Whereas to me, and you're the first, it's the first thing it's like, it's just a new thought, nothing to do with this call, really nothing to do with narrators or anything. But
It's all related, Daniela.
I think that to me is what a relationship is that moment.
Yeah.
You know, this is my person. This is what's best for them. And you say, you've got their back. And I love that. That's the most romantic thing I've heard in a million years. Okay.
Yep.
Also, before we get on the van, can we touch very briefly on, um, you traveled when you were a child, and it was
Oh, yeah.
had a profound impact on you, didn't it?
Yes, I would say so. And
Can you
it's
tell
funny you
us
use that word
that?
profound because I don't know that I would have realized how profound it was until this past trip that I went
Mm.
on. Um, ooh, this might make me cry a little bit. I can feel it already, like in my chest.
It might make
So
a lot of us cry. I think a lot of us,
my
it's,
my mom grew up, she was a Navy brat. Her dad was in the Navy, and they traveled a lot because they moved all the time. And so my mom went to like I think she went to different grade school every year growing up.
wow.
Almost. There might have been somewhere she like transferred in the middle of the year, but she went to 9 different grade schools in 9 years. So she didn't have a home base per se until she was a little bit older. And yet, that experience of traveling and going and being all these different places, my mom loves to travel. And when I was growing up, she really wanted that, even though, I mean, my parents still live in the same house that I grew up in. So we very much have like roots, here in Louisville where we are. And my family goes back several generations in Kentucky and here in Louisville. So I had that very rooted experience growing up, but she wanted for my brother and me, even though we had that, to also experience a lot of traveling and being around, wide variety of people from all different places and learning and understanding things. And so she would just like pile us in the car and we'd go on these big road trips when I was a kid. And this was in like the late 80s and through the 90s and stuff. And we would just the reason that it makes me feel emotional now is because I know how much work it took just for me to go on this trip this past time. And knowing that my mom was like a lot of times traveling alone with us. And because my dad would sometimes like fly out and meet us somewhere or something, but she was a college professor, so she had summers off. And so she'd be able to take us out on these trips when he still had to work. And so he might meet us somewhere along the way for a weekend or a week or something, but we'd be out for weeks on the road in the station wagon, sometimes even bringing family friends along with us. My mom brought my brother, me, and our little family friend who was younger than the two of us. We went on a 6-week road trip out to California and back. It might have even been longer than that.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I think of it was so much work just for me to plan this trip and go and do it. And so much stuff went wrong, and so many things had to be reorchestrated throughout the entire process. And I just think of like oh my God, how much love it takes to plan something like that and to execute something like that for your kids and to make all of that happen, and the expense and the time. And there was no Google to look things up. She found the most incredible uh sights for us to see along the way. And she took us to every museum and all these weird things, the Mitchell Corn Palace, the like it's a palace made of corn. Like who knows to go to that? And but she would find all this stuff. She'd spend hours at AAA doing like the triptych and getting the whole it was maps. We didn't have cell phones. There was no I mean, the amount of effort and work and time and love and care that went into those trips. I always loved them, but I never really understood until
Yeah.
I went and did this on my own how much work that was. And it's so special.
So and I want to hear the van next, but I want to hear about the van, and then I've got so many questions. Okay. Tell me about the van and how it all worked out and how it
All
became what
right.
it is.
So the really neat thing about the beginning of this van is, I decided that I was going to do this project, and I thought I'll give myself a year. I'll give myself a year to save up and buy this van. Um, and that'll be plenty of time because the camper van craze was kind of starting, and the price of used cars and vans in particular was kind of through the roof. And
Do
so
you think
as I
that's
was,
because of COVID? Do you think
yeah,
that's because of COVID? Yeah.
yeah, it definitely was. Definitely was. It
Okay.
was it was both. It was the COVID thing of people wanting to get out and do this on the road. So that's why vans in particular. But there, if you remember, there also were just I don't know what it was like in England, but here it was the used car market went crazy because I think the like the chips for new cars weren't being produced and shipped anymore. There was some kind of
Oh.
shortage of new cars, so everyone bought
Oh,
used
okay.
cars, and then there were no used cars available, so all the prices went way, way up. Um, so yeah, I didn't think I'd be able to find something, but I was just set on doing this. And then within just a few weeks, I was looking on Facebook and oh, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to look at the chat. I forgot.
Yep.
Karen
Don't look
Commons,
at the chat. Don't look at
Karen
the,
Commons
and
posted something about this corn.
especially when Karen's on the call, because
I
Karen
know
will send
she's
so
gonna
many
give all
interesting
kinds of great
things.
details.
I've like literally find myself like, and don't stop, Karen, because it's why we love you. But I
Yeah,
will literally find myself like having a chat with Karen and forgetting
I
like
know.
we're here.
I
But
think I've
don't
done that
stop,
before. She
Karen. It's
moderated something a class that I taught, and I think we ended up having a little chat during it instead of
it makes
instead of
the
making
any
babies.
call that Karen's on is a
Yeah,
good call. Okay,
it's
so
true.
keep
It's true.
going. And
So
also you guys, but just in honor of that, Karen got the link to the Corn Palace, so check out
yeah,
the
the
chat,
Corn Palace
guys.
is so cool. They redesign it every year and put all these different colors it's amazing.
I'll
Um,
add it to the about section,
yeah,
but yeah.
okay. So where was I? Oh, so I saw on Facebook Marketplace that there was this little van available. It only had like 80,000 miles on it. I think it was like $4,500, maybe $4,000. I mean, it was half what I would have expected to pay for it. And I saw it
Wow.
and I thought, I think I can do this. I mean, I can, this isn't something we even need to wait on. What if this is for real? But I thought it's too good a deal to be true. Like this is a scam. There's no way that this is going to work.
You will open the
And
trunk, there'll be no engine.
yeah, something like that. So I'm looking at it, and it was kind of beat up. I mean, it had some dents and things that were not small. And but I thought, I don't know what I'm doing with this thing. I'm building something in it. I could ruin the whole thing. So I don't want to buy some nice thing. So I'm looking at it, and I think I can do this. But this got to be a scam. There's no way that this guy's selling this car that's in this good of a shape for this cheap. But then I noticed that we have a Facebook friend in common. And I thought, oh, well, I'll ask him. I'll see what he says. So I asked this guy, I said, do you know this man? He's selling this van and I'm thinking of buying it. He said, oh, yeah, that guy's salt of the earth, salt of the earth. He's great. He'd never, pull a scam on anyone. So I'm like, okay. So I reach out to him. He says, yeah, come by, take a look. I'll let you keep it for a day. You can drive it around, see how you like it, take it to a mechanic, have them check it out, see if they find anything wrong with it. We can talk about the price after that. So I take it for a day. Chris and I took it over to the park. We opened up the doors. We just laid in the back of it. And I was like, can you feel it? He was like, yeah, I think I can feel it. I think that this is the van.
Oh.
So we went back and I told him, I said, I'll take it. Now I'm doing this for an art project. I don't have a real big budget for this or anything. I'm just doing this myself. And if there's any further discount you can give me on it, I'd really appreciate it. He said, okay, we'll take another $500 off. So he gave me another $500 off. And I was thinking he might do like 100 or something. So I'm thrilled. So we go, we get it set up, everything. And I think I've got an idea. I've got an idea of how to make this a win-win for both of us. That's so nice of him to do the 500, but honestly, even half that I would have been thrilled with. So I go and I get a greeting card that says, thank you, like a thank you card. And I go to the bank and I get $250 in cash. And I tuck it in the card and I write him a really
Oh.
nice note. And I said, it's so special to me that you're selling me this van and that you were willing to take that much more off of it. I wanted to surprise you by giving half of it back. So now you get to feel excited that something great happened to you the same way you made me feel excited that something great happened to me.
Oh.
And so I put it in an envelope and tucked it in his mailbox. After we made all the transactions and stuff, he went out to dinner to run errands or something and wasn't home, and I tucked it in his mailbox. And he called me later and left me a voicemail. And it was very nice. And he was obviously just thrilled. He just thought that was, really fun. That was a nice little moment. It made him feel really good. And I knew that he was not. I knew that he was not doing so well health wise when we talked because he had an oxygen tank and he had, oxygen in his nose. I found out later he passed away. And so he never got to see the van finished. He had asked if I would, maybe keep in touch and show it to him. So he never got to see the van finished.
Maybe that's
But
why he was selling it. Maybe that's why he was selling it.
I'm not sure. I think he had used it as a work vehicle, and yeah, well, that might be. He might have been leaving his job. Um, I'm not sure. I really don't know. But he did end up passing away, and so he didn't get to see it finished. But I think of him, and I think of, what a great start that was to this whole project, that we had this really lovely exchange, and that it just felt kind of magical. And yeah, so that's how
Yeah.
I ended up getting the van to begin with.
We're gonna have to channel Karen Cummins again right
What
there
did she
because
say? I
that's
purposely wasn't looking. So what did she
well,
say
no,
this time?
no, no, no. There's nothing in the comments because that's
Oh,
her
okay.
theory with like I remember a delivery guy was like delivering something to like the wrong country. And she was like, well, I'm just going to wish him the best. I'm going to send him good thoughts. And I'll never forget that because that's what you did with this guy. You put good energy into it. You
Yeah.
connected with the goodness in him. And I think that kind of like, I think that that shadows your whole, the van, the journey, starting off with good vibes rather than,
Yeah.
yeah,
I just
rather
think it's
than
always so
haggling.
important to look for those little ways that you can find the win-win,
Yeah,
because that could have been a loss for him and a gain for me. And it was a
yeah,
willing loss. I mean, he gave it, but instead it ended up being something that surprised and delighted us both. So it's like you double it by finding those moments. And I just think that with almost anything, you can find a way to take it from one person wins, one person loses to like both people win big together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I really love that. And then it's a challenge to look for opportunities to do that.
Oh, yeah. It's well, I
Mm.
challenge or game.
Oh, yep, yep, game. Okay, so what I want to know is, so now you've been doing this, right? And I remember being a little girl and going to our grandmother's house, which was like just a 30-minute ride. But when you're a little girl, a 30-minute ride is like traveling to a whole nother, world. And I remember, okay, don't judge. This was like before the whole seatbelt kind of thing, right? I remember my father would be driving us, especially driving home, and I'd stick my face out the window and I'd look at the moon and I'd look at the freeway and this, the sides of the road. And I think that those moments were the closest I came to like the meaning of life, like ever, right? It's like those moments where you're traveling, you're safe, your parents are at the wheel or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And you're just like,
Yes.
the world's going by. And I'm wondering, and I've always loved long road trips. I've always loved them because to me, they're like a little bubble. And plane rides. I don't know about now, but it's a bubble outside of the world where you come back, you get to just be yourself because you can't do anything else anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what the experience has been like. How many days are you traveling? Are you staying at weird out of the way diners? What is it like? What is the actual trip like? Are you on your own dreaming about life? Have you changed? Has it been meditative? All that travel? Because you've been doing it for a year. How many trips have you made?
Oh, so I really the trip was 3 months long. Um,
So
the
one
co-
trip for three
yes,
months.
over the course of the last year, I've taken one 3-month trip. The year before that, uh, to collect the interviews for the first season, I took two different trips. But that was
Wow.
before the van was finished. So
Okay.
in that instance, I did take the van with me, but for one of those trips, it wasn't painted yet. And then we did the painting, and then I went on the second trip later. And for both of those, the interior of the van was not yet finished. This was the first full trip, the one that I just got back from. It's been about a week and a half, I think, that I got back, maybe just a week. Gosh, time has really flown in this last, because I'm moving tomorrow to New York City. So
So
between getting
exciting.
back from this trip and moving, it's like I've been in this, very liminal period here where it's a lot of transition happening.
Yeah.
Um, so the one that I just got back from, though, this big trip was about 3 months long, and it started up in Maine at the Lobster Bake. We went to the Audiophile Lobster Bake. Chris went up to
Oh,
Maine with
cool.
me, but he wasn't able to go on the entire trip with me, which was the original plan because he had to have a surgery on his hip. So we came back he actually flew back so that he drove up with me, but he flew back because his hip was in a lot of pain. But I drove back. And then I stayed with him for a little bit while he recovered some from the surgery. And then I left again for the Thriving Narrators Retreat, which was amazing. And I can't recommend it enough to anyone who's thinking of something that they might want to do in the coming year. Jennifer Gilariah is
Jennifer
hosting it.
Gillette. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
she is brilliant. She's just
She
so,
basically sprinkles magic dust on everything she
yes.
touches. I
She,
don't know
and it's
how.
it's not even just magic dust. It's like magic, calming.
Yeah.
You feel safe. You feel like you are capable. She just, yes, everything she
I
does
wonder if
just,
she's aware of that. I don't think she's
I've told
aware.
her.
I know,
So
but
I
I
hope
don't
she
think
knows.
I don't think she understands
I
because
don't
she does
I
have
don't
like
know.
that effect on everyone.
I feel like she has to know at least a little bit because I think a lot of people feel that way and they tell her a lot. So I hope
Yeah.
that it sinks in a little bit. But I also think that sometimes there I find that I really have to be careful sometimes about how much I want to tell people about themselves because
I know it,
sometimes yeah.
but I'm not.
Sometimes sometimes people aren't um I don't want to say not ready, but like that maybe not meant. They're not meant to understand everything about how special they are because they're in the moment of being themselves and doing the job that they're here to do. And it's almost like coming across a deer in the woods. You know, if you like speak too loudly, it messes it up and it runs away. So maybe sometimes it's like we're not supposed to share these things with the people. We're just supposed to let them be, and then they can do what they're here to do, and we just get to enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's a lovely theory, but I'm incapable of it. I tell them anyway.
I do too, Daniela. I do too. And
I
sometimes
figure,
people are like, they're really touched by it, and sometimes people are like, that's really uncomfortable. Please stop telling
and
me things about
I mean,
myself.
you know those books that you read and like you, it's just like you don't get what the big deal is, and then like years later you read it again and you think, oh my God, this is life changing, because you
Yeah,
weren't the person that was ready for it at the time. So I'm sure half of the people, like you tell them something like really wise, they're just not ready to get it. But then I just
maybe it
figure
comes
those
back
people
to
will
them
just
later.
think I'm a freak and ignore me and go off on their way.
Well, I have to say, you have said some really kind and positive things to me over this past year that we've known each other.
Oh,
And I have really appreciated the things that you have told me. And I find that when people tell me things, I really try to pay attention to them because it's not always things that I can see in myself. But I've noticed that when I take, there are some people that they're really, really good at knowing exactly what they want out of their life and pushing through and creating a path for themselves and making it happen. And, they knock on the doors and then they push them open and then they walk right through, and that's their power. I don't think I function that way. I really am open to a lot of possibilities, and I try to pay attention. I have ideas, I bring them to fruition. I do that work of trying to make things happen and have agency over things for sure. But when it comes to kind of transition points in particular, or trying to figure out what to do next, a lot of times I notice patterns of where I'm being invited, or I notice patterns of, wow, 3 people have just mentioned to me that I should do this. Maybe I need to pay attention to that, even though it's not a thought I had had before. Um, a lot of things I feel like that try to push really hard to make happen don't end up being the best decisions for myself, but then these things that other people mention to me. So there have definitely been things that you've said to me, Daniela, that I've really taken to heart, and they have made possible things that I wouldn't have necessarily thought were possible for myself. So thank you.
what I,
I'm really glad you do that.
oh, thank you. Can I just, you made me realize something, because that's so funny, because what you have done for me, and this is interesting because I've been on a weird journey this year where we were talking before the call, where I said to Emily, and I think we both agreed that a good year for me at the end of the year is if I feel like, oh wow, I'm an entirely new person. I've learned so much, I've changed so much. Not necessarily everything, because like I post, I'm authentic without wanting to be. Like I don't actually plan on being authentic. I just slip sometimes. And
Some of
so
us just
I'll,
can't seem to help it.
yeah, some of us can't hide it. So I'll say something like, oh, I'm going for an MRI tomorrow. And I get all those caring and hugging, and everyone's like, it's like a heavy, oh, they're all work. And to me, it was just like a really exciting, dramatic thing that's going to happen. And I've forgotten about it 30 minutes later. I'm wondering why everyone's being all like quiet and serious. The thing that you taught me, and I didn't realize it until just now, I've been on a journey this year because I have been, the way you described, open to every possibility. Everyone's got something to teach. I remember lessons that I learned from like one sentence a temp told me at a job 20 years ago. You know what I mean? And so I would like, I'll reinvent myself this way. I'll be this way. I'm going to be the most open person. I'm always going to grow. And it was just this year that I learned to, I don't need to maybe be everything and always be this open, like vessel that can become and change and grow. I could maybe just go, nope, don't like it. don't need to learn it. No, I don't necessarily need to learn every language on earth now. I've done the math. I don't
We
have that
don't?
much time left. I always thought I did. I always wanted to know everything and do everything and learn everything. And the reason I say this about you is because that's the way I see you. The things that you bring up, you are as open as I am, and then you see new things and you hear things. But then you think of something, oh no, this is right. Nomad Narrator. I'm doing, and you're like unstoppable. I remember when you were first talking about Nomad Narrator, you scared the hell out of me. We got to call you like, I'm doing this, and this, and then I'm going to do this, and this is the plan, and this is going to happen, and I'm going to do this. Like, jeez, I'm exhausted after. And
I feel like you and Chris have some commiseration to do
I
because
love it. I love it though.
he
I
feels the
love
same way a lot of the
that,
times with
but
ideas
that
that I
that
get.
tenacity that you had, I'm just now, because I before I was just an open vessel going from one thing to the next. Every prescription, every supplement, every idea, every growth thing, every podcast. Oh, I believe that. But watching an example of what you did with Nomad Narrator and what you do with everything you do has made it look a little bit more attractive to me that, oh, I could pick just one thing and stick to it. Do you see what I'm saying? I think
Yeah. I don't know what it is about. It's like you know, I get a lot of different ideas and there are a lot of different things that I start, but I'm not really the kind of person that doesn't fit. Like there are people that start all different kinds of things and then they only finish a couple of them. I feel like there's something in me that once I really latch on to an idea, it might take me another 10 years, but I will eventually finish it. And I don't know what that is. It's like a,
it's a deep knowing inside of you of what you want. You seem to have a knowing of what you need and what you want.
maybe so. I'm not
I
sure.
love that. I kind of envy it at times. So the traveling, this brings me back to the long trips. Are you driving hours alone on
Yeah.
freeways, thinking about your life?
So
How has that changed
you
you?
mentioned a really long list of a lot of things that you were asking. If is it this, is it that, is it this, is it that? All of the above and more.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
was, and this is another instance of a lot of people have said things. Um, and I want to listen to these people because some of them are best-selling authors that have mentioned this. But I've had a handful of people tell me that I should write a book about this.
Oh, you
And
should.
I think that that might eventually have to happen because
It'd be a
it
cool
really
movie too.
was a what?
It'd be a cool movie.
Cool movie. I might lean Broadway musical, but but we'll see. Um, no, I do actually. I'm gonna put this out into the universe because this is something I would love to happen at some point. And I sent this is the silly kind of thing that I do though sometimes. When I know that even that there's no hope of getting a response back, I'll just sort of start the process. So if you watched the movie Nomadland, I think that's what it's called. Now that I'm thinking of it, is that the right title?
I've heard the title,
Nomadland.
but I don't think I've watched the movie.
It's about a woman who lives in a van. It's not necessarily by choice, I don't think. It's for some financial and personal reasons. But she
Jim has
doesn't want,
watched it.
she ends up not wanting to not live in the van. And it was a really beautiful sort of commentary on independence and America and family and a lot of things. And I watched this movie and I just, this woman was very much not similar to me in many ways, but I really deeply connected with a lot of what she, I think, was experiencing throughout the movie. Just, and I can't really explain it, but I felt very drawn to her character and her way of seeing things. And uh, I thought this would be an incredible Broadway musical. Not a funny one, not like a big showstopper number kind of thing, but like a really thoughtfully done, um, I don't know, just a very beautiful musical. with the music of Brandi Carlile.
Oh,
And,
I love that. See,
you
I
know,
was
Brandi,
thinking On the Road, Kerouac.
it's those kind of vibes though. And I feel like Brandi Carlile has this old soul, um, she's kind of country, but she's also kind of, uh,
Rock and roll.
yeah, she's got like almost like a grungy kind of femme rock kind of, I don't
Yeah.
know. And her voice is incredible. And I don't even just mean her singing voice. I mean, her lyrics are outstanding. And I watched this movie and I just thought like, oh, this should be like a Broadway show with original music by Brandi Carlile. And so I literally sent an email to Brandi Carlile's team and was like, I'm interested in developing this show with you. I knew that I was never going to get a response for it, but that's the kind of thing that it's almost like once I see something in my head, it's hard for me not to keep chipping away at it until it exists.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, it also, something like that, it's not like I can just keep pushing and then it happens. That requires collaboration from someone else, and that might never work out. So there's all kinds of ideas that I have sometimes that they're really dependent on other people. And so they might not end up going anywhere. But I do think I have that thing, going back to what we were talking about before of just like if I see it and I know what it feels like, it's hard for me not to keep trying to make it happen.
But it's Elizabeth Gilbert. It's big magic. It's the
I
idea, and
love
we've
that
talked
book.
about this before, that it's and I always have this image that like the world is full of, to me, it's like the world is full of little bubbles, and each bubble is an idea. And if one comes, brushes up against you, you can grab it. You can grab as many as you want. There's zillions of bubbles everywhere. You can either completely close your eyes and ignore the bubbles, or you can start grabbing them. And what you do with the bubble is up to you. And it could pop, but if you don't grab it, someone else could grab it.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
have that too, where I think, oh, something should, the Great Audiobook Adventure. I wasn't familiar with that project, and I had thought to myself, someone should really make a program that does this and that and the other thing, and someone should really develop this, and I was actually thinking about making a course like that, and then I happened to see was one of the APA sponsored, and it's got the bright colors, and I thought, oh, what's that? And I look it up, and lo and behold, it's this thing that I thought should exist. And so I actually set up a call with Elise to talk to her, because this was when I was kind of still looking for sponsors for the Nomad Narrator. I still thought that might be something I wanted to do. I didn't end up quite going that route. I did have one sponsor, but they were a company that helped. They gave me the auto insulation to make the soundproofing. So they're not even really an audiobook company. But and they're great, and the soundproofing stuff is awesome. So big shout out to them. If anyone wants to know about them, I'm happy to give you more details. But I talked to her because I thought, oh, this is exactly what I think should exist. Someone else has made it. Great. I don't need to do that now.
Yeah, it's
It's
yes, it's so many times I've done that because I have a very short attention span, and I'm conscious that if I don't act on an idea right now, I'm not going to do it, because there'll
yeah,
be another idea. Like I'll think of something in the shower and I need to do it when I get out of the shower. That's it. Or
yeah,
not even tomorrow. So, but if somebody else, so many times I've thought of something and then I see somebody else has implemented it and it's something that like I forgot about, but there's never ever a moment where my ego is like, oh, that's me. It's like, oh, how exciting. Look at that
exactly.
little idea. The bubble is somebody else took the bubble, and
Yes.
it's
And
fine.
so I had a meeting with her and I talked to her about it, and I thought maybe we can even team up and she can be a sponsor. And so we talked about that, and we were, potentially going to move forward with that, but then I didn't quite follow up with any of the rest of it. But I was so excited to see, oh my gosh, and it's got the bright colors just the way that I would like to do it. And I was like, oh, check, someone else
Yeah.
has made this great thing.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that it exists and they've done a lovely job with it. And
Yeah. And
so that,
it's your energy, the bubble and your energy. And how much of your energy can you put forward? And if something else distracts you, it's so what you said, then I didn't follow up with it.
yeah,
Another bubble got your attention. So you only
yeah,
have so
that's
much
true.
energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what about On the Road? It's very emotional, this kind of thing, and all this traveling.
Yeah.
I mean, it's romantic in that I'm in touch with my soul, the open windows, the open road, listening. What about lowest moment?
Oh, lowest moment.
Yeah, was there a moment where you were I'm too tired. This is too hard. I'm too
Yeah,
down.
absolutely. There was a lot of that actually because I started the trip out with a very low battery. Um, and I
Like
actually was
literally the battery of the van or or
personal
your battery.
battery,
Okay.
personal battery. Yeah. My personal battery was at about like 20% when I started the trip out. And I really needed another couple days of rest and recuperation. Um, but I had to go teach at the Thriving Narrators retreat. I was a special guest at the retreat and I couldn't not do that. There were small groups that needed me to be one of the leaders for them and I couldn't not show up. So I did send a message to Jennifer. I said I think I need to rest this morning and get there um in the afternoon, and she said yeah, that's okay. So I did at least get kind of a morning to just like be quiet and still. um and then when I got to the retreat, everyone was really understanding. I have I sometimes just sensory stuff is really overwhelming for me. So I wore sunglasses through the entire retreat, which this is, I don't know if people remember, but this is like the costume for and actually I'm realizing I don't have my headphones. I didn't plug them in. So normally there would be the bright colored headphones on as well. But these are the three elements of the Nomad Narrator, as I have different
Yeah,
colored wigs,
the
different
headphones
kinds of
screw the hair
sunglasses.
up. The hair is
What's that?
perfect.
The hair is good. Okay.
Can I interject real quick because I don't want to forget, and it's a really
Yeah.
good point. Jim Patton says, by the way, he wants to remind you to disconnect your batteries when you put the van in storage.
Yes, that I have like independent little batteries, so they're not actually a battery system in the van. So we're all good on the batteries. But thank you so much, Jim. I got to see Jim's van in Reno. He has a van
Oh,
that he records out
oh,
of as well.
you guys should take a dual trip someday. That's
That would be
cool.
fun. Yeah.
That's cool. It's oh yeah, I'm fascinated by the traveling thing. So, do you stay in hotels at all, or are you
I did.
staying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My plan was not to stay in any hotels, but really because I started out not feeling well, and then my allergies kicked in about a week into the trip over out in the like Wyoming. I
Whoa.
thought I was getting sick because I don't know about you, but man, I had bad allergies as a kid and then I grew out of them and I've never really had issues with them that much again. But when I went out there, there's something about that, like from Wyoming over to Eastern California, that whole stretch down there, it just something in that area just really, my allergies made me feel like I was getting the flu or something. And
Whoa.
so I was supposed to be at there was a Utah gathering of narrators in Salt Lake City, and I was supposed to be at that. But the day or two before, I started feeling really crummy, and I thought, I don't really know what this is. COVID tests aren't super reliable. I don't know. It could be the flu. My throat hurts. My all my nasal passages hurt. I don't want to bring this to a bunch of narrators. So
Yeah.
I ended up not going. But then I just took some allergy medicine and within like a day I felt better. But it was the timing of it was such that I didn't want to show up and make anyone sick if I was sick. So I did end up missing it. So there were, and I got a bad cold on the trip. I did get a bad cold like about 2 weeks before I got home. So there were times that I was sick. There were times that I was just really drained because a lot of my plans kept changing as well because stuff wouldn't work out. And then I had, that there was a repair that had to be made to the van and I needed a place to stay. And it was just, there was a lot of different things like that. So while
But did you
nothing,
stay in the van sometimes? Were you
yeah,
not
I stayed in the van
suffering?
a lot. I stayed in the van a
Were you
lot.
scared?
No, not at all. Well, the very first night I was. But after that, it just was like, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep. And then I slept better in the van than I slept anywhere else.
Like in campgrounds? Like
Yeah, well,
places?
I stayed at a campground a couple times, but no, I would mostly sleep in parking lots. So Planet Fitness
I watch
and pilot
way too
stations.
much true crime.
But the thing is, at like a pilot station, they've got a whole area for truckers, and then they've got regular parking, and there's people coming and going all night long. So you're
Oh my
never you're never without people around, and you can always walk inside. And it's a 24-hour little spot, so it's not isolated at all. It felt very safe. And then at a Planet Fitness, it's kind of the same thing. Now, the Planet Fitness parking lots would really clear out at night, but I could also, if I woke up in the middle of the night and needed like a drink of water, go to the bathroom. Well, for a drink of water, I had a water bottle in the car, but go in and use the facilities. And so it's nice to have a 24-hour Planet Fitness there. And then I could take a shower in the morning. And if I was getting in from a long drive, they have a little massage chair at most of the Planet Fitnesses. So
Is Planet Fitness a gym?
yeah,
I'm
Planet
assuming.
Fitness is a gym.
Yeah.
So I
So
don't,
like a
maybe you
24
all don't
hour.
have those over there, but it's a chain of fitness centers, and it's very affordable to join, and you can go to any of their locations across the country, and they've got really clean bathrooms with showers and like a whole setup with massage chairs, and then it's a gym. So,
So you're not like parked in a parking lot by a cornfield. Like,
um,
like
I'm trying to think if
you
I might have done that once or twice.
totally.
And there were times too that I'd be driving and I was just sleepy. So I'd just, pull over and just take a nap and then keep going. Or
Gosh.
there was one time I went because I'd stop and do my laundry places too. So like I'd stop and do laundry and I'd just kind of hang out. And I had a mosquito net thing that was special made for there's a company that makes them for different sizes of vans. So I ordered one that was made for my van and it goes over the back doors. So you open the doors up and you put the net up and then you just have nice airflow, but no bugs or
You are
anything can get in.
one fiercely independent woman. I've seriously got to say you are, that's strong because, or either that or I'm a wuss because I think,
It was fun. I mean, it's fun.
yeah.
I like the freedom. Yeah, I guess independent might be the right word.
I'm good if I've got people around. Like I can go anywhere in a city. You can dump me in the scariest city in the world and I'll just handle myself. But like if we're going to like the mountains or something,
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere where like nobody can hear me if I scream.
No, the only time that I was driving that I thought maybe I shouldn't be here, was it was, I think it was on the way to Montana. I don't know if it was in Wyoming or not. I can't remember exactly what state it was in, but I was driving out in sort of scrubland and like little scrubby grasses around, but it's pretty dusty. And well, it's a lot of sagebrush because when the rain came in, it smelled really good. Uh, but it was very barren. I mean, there was nothing around me, no town around. I mean, if I had driven back a little ways, I could have seen one, but it was just brown and scrubby and hills, and a giant storm rolled in. And the
Wow.
whole sky was just lightning and pouring rain. And I'm just completely alone out here in the middle of I felt like King Lear in the storm. I mean, it was,
Wow.
at first I was like, this is magnificent. And then I was like, oh my God, if anything happens, I'm gonna die. I can't call for help. There's no cell service here. There's nowhere to stay. There's nothing to hide behind if the wind is whipping back and forth. So that was the only time, but I was safe in the van and I kept driving and then I got somewhere. So it ended up being okay. But as I was driving through that terrible storm, I just thought that this is not safe. I maybe shouldn't be doing this. But there was nowhere to go at that point. I just had the only way out is through. So I just kept going.
What do you listen to when you're driving?
Oh, I listened to audiobooks and I love listening to podcasts. Because that's always kind of a treat because it's like if you have a favorite podcast, then every once in a while there's just a new little thing to listen to.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, I love popping those on. Some music, all of my guests on the Nomad Narrator, I asked them what the song is that they would be listening to on the Great American Road Trip. So I have a little playlist of those. I sent Eric Black a message. I sent him a picture of when I was at Chimney Rock. It was this beautiful pink sunset and just gorgeous. And I got some really great pictures of the van at Chimney Rock. And I was listening to the song that he recommended as I drove that way. And it was Pink Moon by
Oh,
oh, I can't remember who it's by, but it's a really mellow, very beautiful. It was Nick Drake. I think Nick Drake is who he said it was by.
Yeah, I know that,
Um,
I know the name, and I know that I think I loved it, but like I
yeah.
don't, unless I hear it, I don't know which one it was.
But so I had that playing as I was driving to that, and I thought, oh, this is so beautiful. So I sent him a picture of that, um, and told him I'd listened to his song. Uh, but mostly I just kind of felt like whatever I was in the mood for, whether I wanted to listen to other people talking, whether I wanted to listen to a single story, whether I wanted to listen to some music, whatever I was in the mood for.
Okay, so how has your experience, and because I've got another question I want to move on to too, but I don't want to forget to ask this one. How has your traveling, this whole journey with Nomad Narrator, how has it changed you as a person? How are you different now, Emily, than you were when you started?
Yeah. I think that the answer to that is kind of twofold. Um, since the pandemic, I had some I had some difficult years. I had some health issues. There were just some things that kind of made life get sort of small and a little scary for a while. And I think that I finally feel like I'm on completely on the other side of that. And so like that stuff happened. And then there was sort of like a gradual process of things improving. But there was still that sense of like, I still don't feel like myself from before these things. And I definitely am back in some ways too. And I don't want to say back because I don't feel like it's a returning, but it's like, or like a going backwards to something that I tried to regain. It's just like I feel whole again. I feel like wholly present again in what I'm doing.
Like you've reclaimed yourself, not the old self, but a new
Yes, not the
version of
old
yourself.
self, but like
Yeah.
I'm back 100% in my own journey of life.
New
I'm not
improved
trying to
version.
make things work that, might have broken apart or something.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm back. And
I
then
see.
it builds on that too, is the second part is like not only do I feel fully present again, but I see bigger possibilities than I've ever seen before.
Oh, I love Oh, I love that. That opening up. Oh, I love that. So you pulled yourself into yourself, you've reclaimed yourself, you've a new version of yourself. And now, from where you're standing in a position of strength, you can see an opening and even more growth and a big wide future. And that element, I think, wow. Because I think over the last year, I've done the first part of that journey
Mm.
mostly, but I'm not yet. I did have an epiphany when I saw um, Harris, and I thought, hold on, here's a strong, amazing, gorgeous woman running for president, and I'm not even that age, and I'm acting in ways like everything's over. I
Yeah,
mean, I say
right?
you can say self-deprecating things, joking around, oh, things but but she's just starting her life.
Yeah.
This is like, and nobody ever says, oh, too old, right? No, it's the beginning of a whole new adventure,
Yes.
you
That
know?
I think that's the key. I think that we're so used to thinking of life as like one big long line. And
Yeah,
I really have leaned into the idea of chapters, which I think is very appropriate for book people. But, you know, there are, we don't have to be one person our whole life. We can keep doing all kinds of new and different things. We can surprise ourselves. We can surprise the people closest to us. We don't have to stay consistent for the benefit of some idea that we're supposed to just be one thing.
yeah. And the more of us that go out and like here's this strong, powerful, gorgeous woman running for the highest, like, office in the land. And that opened a part of my heart. And it's what they mean by, if you forge a path and you do brave things, you give permission to other people to do brave things. You
Absolutely.
show them that you become what you see. So by you traveling and going out and seeing the world and doing these new things. I mean, God knows what you're going to do next. You like astound me every time I turn around. But every time you're doing this, you're also, it's what you said, you give the win-win. By your example, you're giving us, other people, proof that this is another way to live your life. Do you know what I mean? Here's a
Yeah.
positive way. Here's a path you could take. Why don't you do this?
Yeah.
You know,
Or like whatever it is that maybe this isn't the right path, but if you didn't think this was possible and it's happened, what would be possible for you that's different that you haven't
oh,
thought
I
of
love
yet?
that. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that.
And
Okay.
I feel like I even just like pulling the scope out on that a little bit, it's like um I was able to do this because it's like you're saying, you see someone else do it. So like I was able to even do this because I saw other people doing amazing things. And I
Yeah.
thought, well, if they can do that amazing thing, I can do this little thing. And then this little thing turned into something that someone else sees as a big amazing thing. And then they're like, okay, well then I can do this thing. And then their thing turns into a big amazing thing that someone, we're all just part of this big chain of
Yeah.
inspiring each other. So
And I believe these amazing things are already in us. They're in our hearts. And every single one of us knows which amazing things. You're not given that want. Even people that don't realize that, like, a dream is something you can follow your jealousy.
yes,
What do you feel a little stab in your heart when you
it's
see someone
so
else do it?
true,
Because guess
Daniela.
what?
Do you know what the next one is for me that I just realized I'm jealous of? This just happened. I saw something in my news feed that it was like someone singing something somewhere and that people had written like how much it moved them and how much it touched them. And always I would want to click on that and listen to it, right? Because who doesn't want to be moved by listening to a beautiful voice singing?
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. It didn't feel good. And I thought, oh, what's going on here? My body is telling me that I need to be doing that myself, singing more,
Yeah.
so that
You
then I can
know.
enjoy other people's voice. Because right now it's like I'm not singing at all. And I've always sung my whole life. So I'm not singing at all. And so when I see someone else doing it, it hurts instead of feeling good. And so now I
You,
know, oh, I need to sing more. And I was
and when
just
you and
talking to
when you
Chris about this.
when you honor that, because I had an experience before I left that corporate job in the end when it got really, really, really bad. I was like a broken person in the end, trying to fit into like a mold I thought I was supposed to fit into. We had an away day kind of thing where it's like group bonding, even though I hated everyone I worked with at that point. And we
Hope you
went
didn't
to
have
a
to do any
muse.
trust falls with people you didn't trust.
Yeah. Oh God. I think at one point we did, but not that day. We went to a musical. And the sad thing is, I think they did. Oh, Daniela will like that. We'll do a musical. And 3 minutes in, maybe 4 minutes in, I burst into tears, uncontrollable, gulping, interrupting the show, people staring, tears. I had to literally like stumble out in the bathroom, and I spent the entire like 2 hours in the bathroom. It was Wicked, I think it was,
I
crying, just
love Wicked.
crying in the stall, bawling my eyes out. And it was because, where was this girl that spent her childhood on stage, that lived for it, that was so proud of it, that identified as an actress, and she's sitting in an audience sure that this is never going to be her life. And I went back, I that's when I started burlesque and started and went back to acting and went back,
Oh, Daniela.
got into the theater in London, and because I that pain was, it was quite a dramatic way to learn that lesson, but that is your heart telling you. Nothing hurts like that. Why would it hurt if I didn't
Mhm.
if I didn't care?
Exactly. Why would it hurt if I didn't care?
Yeah.
I haven't thought about missing singing. I've taken a couple voice lessons over the course of the last year with a wonderful lady who I kind of grew up with. She was a little older than me. She's a beautiful opera singer now. And she teaches voice. And I've gone over to her house and we've mostly had conversations and not really sung so much, but we did at least one song. And it was mostly just for fun to kind of not completely lose track of it and to sort of get back into it. And I didn't have, I guess, not so much just for fun, but like I didn't have a specific plan, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I just knew that I needed to stay connected to that and to not lose that. That like I feel like I'm at a point where if I do lose that, it's going to be gone. And I don't think I can live without that. Like it's such a deep part of me that I don't ever want to lose it. So that has happened this year. But as far as performing and singing in front of people and really, using my voice, I haven't done that. And I didn't think I missed it as much as I must if it hurts to watch someone else doing it.
Yeah.
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 Like our bodies tell us the
We're a
right way to go.
combination of all the things we love, and our job is to knit those things together and just like make it so strong. I know this sounds cheesy, but make it so strong so that we're like this bright, shining light of energy of just love. All the things we love, the passion, the energy, the happiness, the love, all of that will overpower all the other crap out there because everyone else's heart can't help but see that. And the things that our heart loves will speak, the loves in my heart will speak to the love in your heart. And whether it's something that you want to do exactly like me or something else, it will make you realize, as we said, that you can do it, that you can. That's what we're meant to do. I think that's a holy thing. I'm not a religious person, but to me that is as close as I come to religion, is that
Yeah,
honoring that inside of us, honoring it and growing it and building it and giving it
absolutely.
to each other. So, but
Absolutely.
this is really important. I don't want to let you go without asking this question.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about, in the last few minutes, we don't have much time, but I want to hear about your mindfulness meditation and what made you want to become a teacher and where you're going with that.
Oh, Daniela, thank you so much for asking.
I'm
Okay.
fascinated by it.
Yeah. So, I work for Sounds True Publishing, which is, I like to say we're the friendly hippie of the audiobook world, um, and of the publishing world. Uh, but Sounds True is a really niche publisher. They focus really primarily on spiritual teachers. We do a lot of nonfiction, specifically with teachers of different spiritual lineages where leading their own workshops or doing that. And so I spend a lot of time with this kind of thing. And one of the programs, because Sounds True is a lot more than just publishing. They have a whole online, they have an app and they've got a whole online catalog of courses and workshops and communities that you can be a part of and all different kinds of things. It's called Sounds True One. And they also offer one of their biggest courses is a 2-year meditation teachers training course. I think it's actually called the Mindfulness Meditation Teachers Certification Program. I think is what it's called, and it's run by two of the world's top meditation teachers right now,
Wow.
Jack
Yeah.
Kornfield and Tara Brach. So
Wow. I
if
love
you're
Tara
into
Brach, by the way.
yes, I was going to say if you're into mindfulness at all or meditation, you've probably heard of them because they have many books and they're really sort of like the global authorities on the subject in the Western tradition. Bringing these um, traditions that they certainly did not invent in any way, but they're very well known teachers of it today amongst English speaking folks.
I
And
think they're up there in the top along with Eckhart Tolle and Kabat-Zinn.
who right now I'm working on an Eckhart Tolle program.
Really? Okay,
Yeah,
okay. So
I
go ahead.
literally
Sorry, I
just
didn't.
finished that. I just turned that in this morning. Yesterday. Yesterday? Might have been this morning. I can't remember. I had a
It's
little bit more to do
all.
on it. I might have actually posted the files this morning. I finished working on it yesterday for the most part. But yeah, I so I really just felt like I felt like I needed, I did this with yoga too. I wanted to learn more about yoga. And so I went to India and I took a yoga teacher's training course and I lived in an ashram and I wanted to learn more about yoga, so I became a yoga teacher because it's the best practice. Teaching
Yeah,
is the best practice. So
yeah,
I had no intention really of being a meditation teacher. I just always felt like whenever I went to meditate, I really didn't understand what the heck I was doing. And I actually started a meditation group with a couple of audiobook ladies and Chris. Chris would come and join us a lot. Um, but it was just a 15-minute thing in the mornings. We did this for a few months. Every morning I would log on to Zoom. We just all had our cameras off. So it didn't matter if you just woken up and rolled out of bed. And we would just sit there for 10 minutes with each other. We'd say a little hello and we'd sit there for 10, I think like 10, 15 minutes. And then I would read a quote or a passage or just something that I'd pull up for the day. And we did that for a few months, but it got to the point where, we were kind of talking about, well, this is the experience I'm having with this, or, um, you know, here's the challenge that I'm having sitting even through these 10 minutes. And I realized that even though I was offering this space, I wasn't really offering anything else. I couldn't answer I couldn't help people develop a practice. I was just creating a space for us to all be in. And so I thought I kind of want to do more here. So it was those two things. I wanted to learn more about it myself, and I had some friends specifically who I wanted to maybe be able to answer some of the questions of this thing we were doing together. What I didn't anticipate was that when I had these two practicums that I taught, how incredibly special they would be to to be a part of for me. And I think judging from the evaluations and what the comments people gave me, because people who participated gave me feedback forms, I had to turn them in for my graduation. Um, People seemed to really, I think we all had a very profound experience with each other in both of these classes.
I
And
love that.
I now am like, what do I do next with this? So I think I am going to be a mindfulness meditation teacher. I don't know what form that's going to take. I don't really teach yoga, uh, except for if there are instances where, someone is doing a workshop and they say, maybe we can do a yoga offering in the mornings or something. I'll volunteer, I'll answer questions people have, but I found out pretty quickly that I didn't feel comfortable charging for yoga because the training program that I went to was very Hindu religiously based. And it started to feel to me a lot like charging people for praying, or for teaching them how to, pray. So it just didn't, nothing against yoga teachers at all. It just the kind of yoga that I was taught and the tradition that I was taught in, it just didn't feel like a good fit for charging people.
Do you
So
still
I've never
practice yoga? Do you practice
I
yoga?
do. I don't practice as much as I used to, but I do still, I don't have a regular practice anymore, but I do still practice some. But that never turned into any kind of a teaching thing. I really do think this might. I just don't know I mean, we're at the very early, I haven't even graduated yet. So I finished this in March. I'm finished with the practicum. That was the major project of the 2 years. But it completes and wraps up in March, and then I'll be a certified meditation teacher. And then, it's certainly not going to be a full-time thing. It'll be like a side hustle kind of thing, but a hobby or I mean, I want to there are so many opportunities, I think, in the world where mindfulness can help and make things better.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
it's not
amazing.
limited to any profession. It's not limited to any background. It's not limited, like it's for literally if you're a human, mindfulness meditation is for you. So I feel like there's a lot of good that it can do to teach and inspire other teachers to become teachers and, have that ripple
And there,
effect.
even just little bits of it, I think the concept, it was earth-shattering to me, it was in the middle of a meditation. I really wanted to do yours. I had problems with my eyes at the time, but
Yeah, that's
the
okay.
co
We'll have more and I'll be sure to let you know and
yeah,
you don't,
let
yeah.
me know when you do, because one concept I came across was the whole you don't try to control your experience.
Yes.
I'd never considered that in my life. I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
And for a lot of people, that's revolutionary when it comes to
yeah.
meditation because they've always been told, clear your mind, clear your mind. Well, we don't need to clear our minds. Our minds are going to think. That's what minds do. But where are we? When our minds are thinking, if we're not those thoughts, if we're just observing those, then like, where are we? And
That is
then be that.
life altering for
Yeah.
somebody that's always controlled every single thing. And then the other one is the meditation I do. It's they have a thing come at you, and there's obstacles, and you're trying to find the reward in the
Oh, is this
spaces
your
in between the.
VR? Is this your
Yeah,
virtual reality? Oh my gosh, that looks
that
so
was
neat.
amazing. Finding the reward in between the obstacles. So now in real life, when things worry me and stress me out, I look for the breathing space and the reward, the little things I can be excited about. Ooh, my
Mhm.
favorite TV show is on later. So do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My brain is looking for a way out of the stressful things into. That's why I'd really like to. I'm interested in your form of mindfulness to see as an adjunct to my beloved VR. I'd love it. I think it's
Mhm.
interesting. I
Well,
think
I will
it's
definitely
fascinating.
keep you posted.
Yeah,
Something is coming in the new year. I don't know what it will be yet, but I'm determined that next year I will have some kind of meditation offering that people can sign up for.
yeah.
Yeah,
Keep me posted. Keep me posted.
will
And
do.
when you do get one, if you do get one, and if it's widely available at any point, let me know and we can go and add it to the about section in this call,
Oh,
so
fun.
people
Yeah,
watching
that'll
the
be
video
good.
can find it. Emily, this has been an amazing chat. I'm What a way to celebrate Halloween.
No, I hope that I get to be your like regular Halloween guest now and we can
You are,
always wear
you
our wigs and
are. If
sunglasses.
who else
Yes,
am I
it's a
going to get to
tradition.
don a wig and glasses?
I've just loved catching up with you, Daniela, because we've both been really busy, and we have exchanged messages a lot over the last year, but I think we haven't really talked much in the last few months. So it's just been really. I mean, I know we've got an audience for our chat, and it's
I
been
know,
really
but I
lovely to
think
hear from
that's
them
such a
too.
Gemini thing.
But I'm
Always
so
find
glad to
time if
just
there's
catch
an
up with you.
audience.
And we
But
are both Geminis, so
it's always a guaranteed wonderful talk, and it wouldn't be the same if Karen hadn't made it. You must always attend the calls if
yes,
Emily's here,
please.
Karen.
Karen has to
Yeah.
always be here as well. Yeah.
But also the whole audience, you guys are just stars. You're all my favorite people. And Emily, you are one of my favoriteest of favorite people.
Oh,
And I shall be living vicariously through your trips, except the sleeping alone in the scary parts, the country part. And it's been a joy. Thank you for everything you do for all of us. You're a force of nature.
thank you so much, Daniela. I was
But
so glad to be asked back, and I can't wait for next year.
yay, happy Halloween. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy
Mwah,
Halloween!
mwah. Bye,
Bye.
guys. Bye.